Hello and welcome to another video. As I've started doing videos again, I thought I'd do one about my game. It's called SpecQuest and was released in 2001 on the Spectrum Show website. Now when I set out to write this game, in fact when I write any games, I always want to make a game that I would want to play. In particular one that I would have really loved to play back in the day. Two of my favourite games back in the day were Lords of Midnight and Bard's Tale. So this game's kind of a mashup of them. In fact, quite a few years ago when I was developing it, I took a PC with it on to a retro revival event in Walsall. And I showed it to Simon Butler. He pretty much immediately said, "That looks like two games mashed into one." To which I replied, "Yeah, you're right, because really it is." There is an overworld that uses a landscaping technique based on the Lords of Midnight, and the dungeons look a lot more like Bard's Tale. It was developed in Z88DK and C, which now I can program in Z80 Assembler, I think was a mistake. C's great, but I quickly found that I started running out of memory, mainly because of all of the additional libraries that I had to include in my build. I think the compiler's clever enough to remove things it doesn't need, but still, I very quickly ran out of memory. I struggled with that for a while. I was going to make it a multi-load game, but I really didn't want people to have to mess around with tap files or tapes when they were playing the game. So in the end, I decided to make it a +3 disc game. Another advantage of making it a +3 disc game is that it makes it a lot easier to load and save progress. It also gave me a way to give the player a bit of a leg up at the start. The release of the game has 3 slots already saved. The first one is a standard party starting at level 1, the second one the party starts at level 3, and the third one the party starts at level 5. So if you want an easier game to start off with, then choose the third slot and get a party that is already quite a few levels up. Because of the aforementioned memory restrictions, one thing I had to sacrifice early on was the ability to fight in the overworld. You were supposed to get some random encounters in the overworld, but it ended up that I just couldn't do that. I couldn't fit it all into memory. My combat engine was just a bit too big to fit in. One other thing I wrote, and this is included on the release, is a map editor for the dungeons. And in fact, if you play the game and you want to cheat and you want to see the dungeon maps, you can simply load up an emulator, load up the map editor, and that will show you the layout of the dungeons. I used that a lot while I was playtesting the game. The story of the game's in the introduction, but basically, you're a party of heroes, you've got to find out what the source of evil that's roaming the land is, and hopefully destroy it. If you complete the game, you'll find that you have destroyed it, but there's a twist at the end. Now I don't know if anyone's played this game. A few people have posted comments on Facebook when I first said it was released, said they would. A lot of people asked why it was a +3 disc game and why not another format, because they wanted to play it on something else. Sorry about that. Although all the loading and saving is done in BASIC, so it'd be quite easy to convert to another format. I have thought of converting it to BAS files for the Spectrum Next, because it would be quite easy to create it to files that you could just load onto a Spectrum Next SD card and play directly on that. I've always really expected most people, if they were going to play this, to play it in an emulator. One piece of advice I give in the manual is, if you're doing that, you probably want to ramp up the speed a little bit, ×2 or ×4. So that's my game. This is going to be a short video. If anyone has played it, can you let me know in the comments? And if anyone's found any bugs, let me know in the comments as well. I've played it through several times myself, in fact quite a few times myself. Going back to it now for this video, I played it almost completely through and really enjoyed it again. That's my game. I hope everyone enjoyed that, and until next time, happy gaming!